We are back with another Hellzone reacts, and today we are reacting to JoBlo, one of my favorite YouTuber and content creators, and he has a really cool series called What Happened to the Unmade. And today we're going to be checking out the video, What Happened to the Unmade Scream 3. Let's go ahead and check it out now and react to it.
We're taking a look at a film that was altered in so many different ways that by the time it came out, it was but a shell of its original idea. Today on What the F Happened to This Unmade Horror Movie, we're taking a look at a version we never got of Scream 3. When Scream came out in 1996, it completely took the horror world by storm. Directed by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson, the horror genre would be forever changed due to the meta-influence of this one film.
To this day, I have not seen a film that culturally changed horror's direction for the past 30 to 40 years. I can't name a single film. And like they said, it was incredible. Wes Craven, Kevin Williamson together was a match made in horror heaven.
Would team up again on Scream 2, which served as a meta look at sequels that also managed to light the box office on fire. All signs pointed to a third film. However, due to Williamson's other successes with I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Faculty, and the TV show Dawson's Creek, he was unavailable to return for writing duties. However, he had provided notes for what Scream 3 could be, and boy is it interesting. Sold the script for Scream back in 1995, he wanted to sweeten the deal for interested studios. So he also included a 5-page outline for 2 sequels. While Williamson was able to execute much of what he planned for Scream 2, he still had to make a change in Killer after an early script leak. Scream 3, on the other hand, had a much messier journey to screen. I want to thank you guys for watching What the F Happened to This Unmade Horror Movie, and ask that if you enjoy our shows, please subscribe to our channel right now, like this video, and click on the bell so you can be notified each time a new video goes up. And
yeah, shout out to JoBlo. Make sure you go follow them over on YouTube. Go subscribe to their YouTube channel. Follow them on Instagram, all their social media platforms. Thank you so much, JoBlo. I'm having such a good time reacting to What the Fuck Happened to This Unmade Horror Movie, Scream 3 edition.
And now, back to the show. Williamson expanded his original outline into a 20 to 30 page detailed outline that had the film taking place in Woodsboro, where a third Stab movie was being filmed. People would then start getting murdered in an effort to lure Sydney out of hiding. So while the change in location...
Okay, so apparently in the original Scream 3 script, they were supposed to be in Woodsboro filming the new Stab movie and not in Hollywood. So that is something different than we got in the original Scream 3. So, let me think about it. I love that idea. I love that idea. I didn't necessarily love the fact that they went Hollywood. I wasn't mad that they went Hollywood. I just wasn't in love with it. I would much rather them stay in Woodsboro and let Hollywood come to them. So having Hollywood come to Sidney Prescott, I thought that would be really fucking cool.
Patience was pretty major. The general idea of the outline remained in the final movie. One element that did not was the killer. In the film that was actually released, the killer is revealed to be Roman Bridger, the long-lost half-brother of Sidney Prescott. He had tormented Sidney as revenge against Maureen, who had turned him away and rejected him.
Shout out to Roman. I think he is the greatest Ghostface killer in the entire Scream franchise. The only solo killer, hint hint wink wink,
and is often heralded as the weakest killer reveal of the series. And it's hard to argue. Funnily enough, Williamson had a familiar face as the mastermind behind all of Sidney's misfortunes, Stu Macher. See, Stu had survived the television electrocution from the first film and was in prison all of this time. He had been masterminding all of Sidney's misfortunes.
It's always been me, the author of all your pain.
Wow, so in the original Scream 3 script, Stu Macher was supposed to be the killer, the mastermind. That is fucking insane. So what is this talk where Kevin Williams is always like, hey, Stu Macher's dead? You literally wrote that he wasn't going to be dead. That is insane. Let's keep going.
Some of this may sound familiar for what happened in the final film. Matthew Lillard had been hired to return, even being paid for the gig. However, once a new writer was brought in, the Stu character was left firmly in the past.
So Kevin Williamson's original Scream 3 script had Stu Macher surviving the night of Scream 1996 and going to be in prison. Wow, that's insane.
While Craven wanted Williamson to return, Kevin just didn't have the time, and Bob Weinstein was unwilling to wait for him to become available. Lead Neve Campbell wasn't contracted for a third film, and had been very busy with her TV show Party of Five and films like Drowning Mona. So if they wanted her back, they had to work within her schedule, which meant they only had her filming for 3 weeks.
I think I actually heard that in the Wes Craven interview, one of his final interviews. Wes Craven kind of mentioned that it was hard to film Scream 3 because they had Neve Campbell for such a limited time. But 3 weeks is insane.
Paul. So writer Aaron Kruger was brought on for scripting duties, with the caveat being that he write it quickly. 6 weeks, in fact. Such an extreme deadline for a film series that is known for its great writing should have been a red flag from the beginning. But the Weinstein...
Wow, so they only had 6 weeks to write the entire script for Scream 3. That is insane.
Really liked Kruger's tenacity and quick turnaround, and didn't see any issue with the limited time. Craven was even impressed with the pages that he had been receiving from Aaron during this time. By his own...
I mean, I'm not mad at it. I thought it was pretty good. For what they did in 6 weeks, I thought Scream 3 was pretty damn good.
On admission, Kruger had issues with writing for the characters, often having to revise drafts with Craven or the actors. Unfortunately, once filming started, Kruger was taken off the project by Weinstein in order to work on Reindeer Games. Leda Kalogridis, I really don't even know if I'm saying that name right, was then brought in for any rewrites needed while filming. This is odd because while Leda went on to write films such as Shutter Island and Avatar, she had no experience at the time.
Okay, so that's insane. So there were 2 different writers for Scream 3. The first guy who wrote the majority of it got pulled from the project by the Weinsteins to go work on another project. Then they had the girl who ended up writing Shutter Island and Avatar to come in to finish off any rewrite. So that's insane.
Craven felt that she had an understanding of the first 2 Scream films that would make her perfect for the job. Her main focus was the inclusion of Sidney's mother and bringing the events of the first film back around to this one. And then the events of April 20th, 1999 changed everything. Columbine high school shootings happened, society was looking for something to blame. Not wanting to face reality, people came together to blame the media. It was apparently the fault of violent movies and video games. You know, the exact argument that Billy and Stu used in the first film.
That is true. I mean, not to get dark here, not to get political, but wherever you stand on that side of the fence, you gotta separate the art, man. Art is art. You cannot make it a reality. Reality is reality for what you make it. So reality is, there's certain laws that make it easy for people to do crazy things. And the simple fact is there's just crazy people out there, right? So you're not gonna be able to change the laws, and you're not gonna be able to stop people from being crazy. So don't blame the movies, right?
Miramax caved to the mounting pressure and had many demands for Wes Craven. The first of which being the change in location from Woodsboro to Los Angeles. They felt the move would help get ahead of any criticism of a small town being devastated by tragedy, like in Columbine. And with the plot being based around making a movie, the change to Los Angeles made the most sense. They also didn't want any teenagers involved in the killings, for obvious reasons. The final caveat was a big one though. They wanted Craven to focus on the comedic moments and to lighten up on the bloodshed.
Wow, so Craven was basically forced. Wes Craven was basically forced to make the film more comedic. And while we're not truly mad at that, there are a lot of comedic moments in Scream 3. And another thing, they weren't allowed to use teenagers because of the events of Columbine. So, oh man, that's pretty tough.
Oh boy. While Craven fought back, it clearly wasn't enough, because the film we got had more than its fair share of comedic bits, and the kills are mostly a result of unseen stabs, and then people covered in blood. Even the big house explosion quickly envelops the character in flame, and we don't see any actual gore. When compared to the rather visceral shots from the first two films, Scream 3 really disappoints. The biggest change that occurred during production were the number of killers. Both of the prior Scream films had two different killers, Billy and Stu in the first, and Mrs. Loomis and Mickey from the second. The third film changed things up, and only Roman was revealed to be the killer. However, that wasn't the original intention, and the evidence is all over the film. Sure, they tease several times that the police detectives are up to no good, even giving Roman a police-issued bulletproof vest, and there have even been theories regarding David Arquette's Dewey. But the main character to look at here is Emily Mortimer's Angelina. She would have been Roman's lover and also a former classmate of Sidney's. Unlike Roman, whose motivation was payback for the childhood taken away from him by Sidney's mother, Angelina's motivations are fame. She idolizes Sidney and knows that playing her will be her ticket to superstardom.
Wow, so Angelina was supposed to be a killer in Scream 3. It was going to be Roman and Angelina, and that makes so much sense, right? He's the director, she's the upcoming star, the storyline in Scream 3, it just made sense.
But with the prevailing worry about people guessing the ending and wanting to come up with something fresh, they decided to whittle it down to just one killer and drop the Angelina-Roman team-up. But this change happened fairly late in the process, and its footprints are all over the film. Ghostface is able to be in way too many places at once, and travels massive distances in short amounts of time. Emily is also unaccounted for in many moments where Ghostface is present. So, in trying to make the film more unique and distinct from the prior films, they also made it nonsensical, which is very anti-Scream. While we've talked about plenty of the changes with the ending, one of the other main changes would have been the opening. While the released film saw Cotton Weary getting murdered at his home in LA, Williamson's outline had Sidney opening the film with a friend. They would be stalked and nearly killed, only for Sidney to kill Ghostface and reveal that it was simply a fan. This sets up...
Wow, so the original beginning to Scream 3 had Sidney Prescott and a friend, running from Ghostface, Sidney finally getting Ghostface and shooting them in the head, but it turned out to be an estranged fan. Oh my God.
Why Sidney is off hiding in the woods. But obviously, given that Neve Campbell was only available for 3 weeks, her scenes were given to others. While most of the casting remained consistent despite script changes, Kate Hudson was announced for a role, speculated to be Sarah Darling, but she dropped out before filming started, likely due to the massive success of a certain other film released at the same time. But with all of these changes, I find the biggest issue with Scream 3 to be with its characters. These don't feel like the people we followed around in the first two films.
Facts. The characters in Scream 3 are so forgettable. Besides the original trio or the legacy characters, they're just throwaway characters.
Sure, they may sound like them, but they're missing those key elements that make them more than just Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, and David Arquette. Kruger himself admits to not quite getting the characters as a result of him not being involved from the beginning. An early draft even had Sidney as more of a Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2 kind of character. Thankfully, Wes stepped in and put a kibosh on that. Who knows what we would have gotten otherwise. But as is, there's something that feels quite off about the main trio's interactions. Had we gotten Williamson's version of Scream 3, it seems likely that much of the criticism would be remedied. The new LA location would revert back to the familiar scenery of Woodsboro, and rather than opening with a side character, Cotton Weary, we get Sidney and a logical explanation for why she'd be in the middle of the woods. And while we'd get a mastermind behind it all, the reveal would be someone we care about and know, rather than a brand new character that has all of this expository connection to our lead.
She slammed the door in my face, and she said I was Rena's child and Rena was dead.
Unlike Aaron Cruz,
I'm still standing on the hill. Roman is a great character. I do not care. So, ladies and gentlemen, Hellcats and Hounds, shout out to JoBlo for making the What the Fuck Happened to This Unmade Horror Movie series over on YouTube. Make sure you go check him out. This one was the Scream 3 edition. We learned a lot. So, Kevin Williamson's original script for Scream 3 was way better than what we got, but due to his growing popularity, he had to not be a part of it. And with Neve Campbell not being a part of it for as much as she would like, only being there for 3 weeks of filming, we just got a totally different script. It just shows that you need everything together for a perfect Scream film. You need Wes Craven, you need Kevin Williamson, you need Neve Campbell, and you need society to not be going through what it went through at that time. And if we would have had all of that, I feel like Scream 3 would have been a much better film. And we would have got Stu Macher back. And you know how the Stu Macher fans feel about him being back. So it was fun, right? I thought that this was a really good series. Shout out to JoBlo. If you want more, make sure you follow your Hellmaster for more Hellzone reacts. We're going to be doing more of these. Make sure you comment down below. Did you learn anything? What do you want us to react to next? Let us know down in the comments below. I'm your Hellmaster Dede. I'll see you Hellcats and Hellhounds in the next one. Peace.